You can't make up what the Dallas Cowboys are trying to do. So make sure to like this video, and if you want more Dallas Cowboys news content like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel by hitting that red button down below. The first story is Dallas Cowboys could bench $82 million starter after worrying performances. The Dallas Cowboys are now reeling from back-to-back road losses, and part of that issue has been poor blocking in the passing game. Dallas has given up 14 sacks in their past 4 games, and Terrence Steele's lackluster performances have been a key part of that. Steele was handed a $82.5 million 5-year contract this past offseason, but has not lived up to the salary. Through 15 games, the veteran tackle has been given a 50.3 grade by Pro Football Focus. The site also states that his 7.0 sacks allowed are tied for the 8th most in the NFL. In the Christmas Eve loss to the Miami Dolphins, Steele was one of 3 Cowboys players to receive a sub-50-point grade. And while it's far from ideal to bench a high-paid player, Dallas can't afford to allow their current rate of sacks. Chuma Edoga had to step in for left tackle Tyron Smith against Miami, but if Smith is getting healthy, it may be time for Edoga to play at right tackle instead of Steele. This is not to say that the Cowboys should look to end their relationship with the tackle, but they cannot afford to have him allowing sacks in the playoffs. Besides poor blocking, the Cowboys also seem to get away from their best offensive weapon, Ceedee Lamb. Dallas's #1 receiver started hot with a 49-yard touchdown reception, but Dallas QB Dak Prescott did not target him for nearly 2 quarters. After the game, the former Oklahoma Sooner was clearly frustrated about how he was utilized. As Heavy's Sean Devaney covered, Lamb referred to the situation as weird. "They wasn't doing anything," Lamb said to media on December 24th. "I don't know. I just felt like, if I am going to be involved, just keep me involved. And in the game, do what they gotta do." But yeah, I agree. It was weird. That second and third quarter. Very weird. It was still an impressive stat line for Lamb, who totaled 6 catches for 118 yards and a touchdown. He's already amassed stats that would make 2023 his best season ever. But it matters little if the Cowboys aren't winning important games. The frustration is also evident on the defensive side of the ball. Pass rusher Micah Parsons added another half sack against the Dolphins, but he was not able to impact the game as he would have liked. According to The Athletic's John Machota, Parsons vented about the contest and the officiating. "It's mind-blowing the things that are getting called and the positions that we get put in," Parsons said. "We just have to learn how to fight the adversity. I know a lot of it is BS, but it's the world we live in. We've got the star on our helmet. It's just hard to play defense." Dallas held a dynamic Dolphins offense to just 1 touchdown, but Miami moved the ball enough to kick 5 field goals, including the game winner from Jason Sanders. The second story is Dak Prescott responds to narrow loss to Miami Dolphins. Dak Prescott and the offense got off to a blazing hot start on their first drive of the game against the Miami Dolphins, but things came to a screeching halt by way of a fumbled handoff on the 1-yard line that wiped the potential for any points off of the board, and the Dallas Cowboys spent the remainder of the game chasing their breath. It was a far better showing than the one put on film against the Buffalo Bills, but ultimately wasn't enough as they fell 22-20 on a game-winning field goal as time expired in Miami. "It's frustrating," said quarterback Dak Prescott. "They now fall to 3-5 on the road, and the struggles with untimely penalties and, in the absence of Tyron Smith, protection on dropbacks resurfaced in a big way." Prescott, with the assistance of Ceedee Lamb and a fourth-quarter toe-drag touchdown by Brandon Cooks to give the Cowboys a lead with less than 4 minutes left in regulation, nearly overcame several stalled drives to deliver a harrowing comeback victory against one of the best teams in the NFL. A face mask penalty on the final Cowboys defensive drive not only jump-started the eventual game-winning drive for the Dolphins, but it marked the latest road error the Cowboys couldn't afford to make. This contest felt eerily like what occurred in Philadelphia against the Eagles, in that it was a game of inches the Cowboys should have won, if not for self-inflicted wounds that put the victory narrowly out of their reach. "It's frustrating that we had a dead spot in the middle of the game for the offense after the first 2 drives when we couldn't get anything going again," said Prescott. "We come back in the second half and we're a little dry there as well. We finally got rolling and got some points on the board and took the lead, and our defense did a hell of a job. This is one that's on everybody and it sucks, but we definitely took a step over last week's game in getting some points. We played a hell of a team here on the road, and we'll have to build off of it. We'll have to use the good and make sure we get better from the things that weren't up to standard. Of course, this will embolden the narrative that says the Cowboys can't defeat good teams on the road, and that they will have a difficult time achieving a deep playoff run because of it. I guess it feeds the narrative, writing, "We didn't come out with the win," said Prescott. But I can tell you the confidence is high with this group. It sucks. It hurts, especially in the manner in which we lost this one. But the confidence is high and we understand we can. Obviously, we haven't done it, but we will. And it looks like we'll be going on the road in the playoffs. We've got one more this regular season to dial it in, get a win, and carry it over. Up next comes the Detroit Lions, one of the best teams in the NFC and one that cannot be overlooked, particularly if you're the Cowboys trying to stop the bleeding of a two-game losing streak, their first since November 2021. It's about moving forward and understanding what's ahead of us, Prescott added, and we're going to improve again. And, obviously, we're going back home on Saturday, and it's a place we've been winning, but we've got to make sure we can't lean on the fact we're at home. This isn't going to be easy. This is another great team coming in. After that, they'll have one more chance, and just one, to try and cure their road ills without consequence, because up next comes January, and it's either win or go home for good. We've got to defend that, and then take that confidence, go out to Washington, and get that win, said Prescott. And that'll be the one that starts the streak. Last team to score wins. That's usually how we would decide games out in the yard. And that's usually what matters the most in those games and in these highly visible NFL games. The last team to score, especially in the final seconds like this one, is the team that usually wins the game. And this was no exception. But like it or not, the Cowboys lost the game because they weren't the first team to score. Yeah, I know there are 55 more minutes of football to be played after Dak Prescott and Hunter Luepke failed to make the handoff exchange at the 1-yard line. But that fumble right there lost the game. Check that. Having a 2nd and 1 from the 2-yard line to open the game and not scoring lost the game. Yes, the Cowboys eventually led later in the first quarter and somehow clawed back to take the lead, only to lose on the Dolphins' final drive. But to me, the psychological aspect of football is also a huge factor, and I think not scoring there was a massive blow to this team, especially when you consider the fact that they simply couldn't run the football. Not scoring when you're inside the 2 is bad enough. But the failure to consistently run the ball cost this team the game, and it might eventually cost them more than that. The third story is, despite outside noise, Cowboys have confidence in Mazi Smith. The absence of starting defensive tackle Jonathan Hankins against the Buffalo Bills shined a spotlight on first-round rookie Mazi Smith, who filled in and played a season-high 36 snaps. Even though his responsibilities in the A-gap were not the biggest concerns in the run game against the Bills, James Cook ran for 179 yards on his way to helping power Buffalo to 266 yards on the ground as a team. I think there's definitely plays he can learn from as far as pad level, head coach Mike McCarthy said about Smith. But I thought he did a good job fighting, staying in his gap, fitting his gap. It starts with attacking the line of scrimmage, staying square, getting in your gap, and then, obviously, the tackling was probably our biggest issue on run defense. When asked on Tuesday about his continuing development, Cowboys owner and general manager Jerry Jones said that he is pleased with his development and the trajectory he is on. Mazi has shown us everything that we've wanted when we took him, Jones said. He does need to continue his development. Mazi went in there and got some good snaps against Buffalo. We're going to need Mazi, and we're going to need him in the middle there. They're going to come at us in the run game in the future. In their short time together, Hankins has built a relationship with Smith that has manifested into a student-teacher connection, as the 11th-year run-stopper is encouraged by his effort level on and off the field, but realizes there are areas for growth. He's been open to learning and understanding the way I play the game to help out his play, Hankins said. Honestly, I think he's been doing great, an amazing job. Obviously, it'd be nice for him to make a few more plays and more splash plays, but like I told him, the plays will come. Just continue to work, get better, and don't really worry about the outside talk. Let's just focus on winning games and getting our job done. While Hankins didn't have first-round expectations when he first entered the NFL, he did have the regard of being a second-round selection and the expectation to perform quickly, something he said he didn't feel like he did to a level he was comfortable with until halfway through his second season. When you get first-round guys at those positions, you would like to see them splash out and do the same things they were doing in college, he said. To me, I don't think that's realistic, especially for me first getting into the league. I wasn't at this level that I'm at now. All in all, you gotta learn the game and it'll get better. Everything else will fall into place. When Smith was drafted back in April, his strength and athleticism, given his size, immediately jumped off the table. And while that hasn't quite translated onto the field on a consistent basis, Hankins sees the potential in his time around him. He's quick when he wants to be quick, Hankins said. He's definitely one of the strongest guys out there, powerful. He's starting to understand the game a little bit more, and with him, it's just going to take some time. As he gets more snaps and time to play, I think it will come a lot more natural for him. One criticism of Mazi Smith in his rookie season has been his slow get-off at the snap, and it's something that Hankins has been working with him at even more in his time as the fill-in starter. That's one thing I preach to Mazi, he said. If you can get off the ball before they can get off the ball, or you engage on them before they can do anything, that's a damn play. It may sound simple, but it's definitely tough to do every single play. While the noise outside of the Cowboys facility can get loud regarding Mazi Smith's rookie season, Hankins has been in his corner and remains there as he works through his first-year struggles. Just not think so much, just go out there and play, Hankins said about his advice to Smith. Don't worry about what you're getting, just attack and run through a wall and rip somebody's head off. Do that and everything will take care of itself.